He joins us now from Ottawa. Talk some more about that. Evan, everybody wants to start talking about reopening, of course, because it's that light at the end of the tunnel we've been wanting for so long. Do you think Saskatchewan could serve as a roadmap for the rest of Canada?
Yeah, I think the Premier said it best in his five-part plan. One, we flattened the curve. So first you have to get to a point where the curve is flat, and Saskatchewan believes they've done that. Now, again, I want to just qualify. Flattening the curve does not mean coronavirus is gone. It means that it's just not spreading the way it was. So it still exists. It still can spread. It can still flare up again. You talk to any infectious disease person, flattening the curve just means you're stopping the spread of it and you're giving the healthcare workers time to adjust. COVID still exists and it could flare up at any time. But the Premier said, look, this is not turning on a light switch. This is turning on a dimmer switch. And Premier Moe has a five-part plan to start opening it up next month. And that plan is a cautious plan that still respects physical distancing and focuses first on things like certain offices and certain schools. And then as you hit benchmarks, you can, over the next number of months, begin to reopen the economy. Now, look, people need to see a plan. And the plan, again, is not going to be, we're open, you're back to normal, or you're closed. It's going to be, for everywhere in the world, a staggered plan. And I think Saskatchewan's probably got it right in terms of how they do it. The real question, though, is when is too early to even let up a little? If this thing flares up again, do they have to shut it down, which is really tricky? So do you extend that first phase another week or 2 weeks? And though Saskatchewan has flattened their curve, what does that mean in terms of if others do? Did you start moving goods and services? Is there travel? So, and could that make Saskatchewan more vulnerable? So I think for every leader, this is tricky, but the economic consequences are so desperate and the curves are starting to flatten places. Governments are now having to come up with a plan, and I think people need to see those plans.
So we know Ottawa wants to leave it up to every province, every premier to decide how this is going to work, the when and the how. But do you think there's been enough of a federal guideline on this so that the provinces have or can have sort of a basis to work on that the whole country works on?
The federal government's responsible for the border. So, and Justin Trudeau said this yesterday, the federal government will make a very critical determination, and it's purely their responsibility on the U.S. border and the Canadian border everywhere as to how that works. That is 100% in federal jurisdiction. It's not going to be like Quebec's going to let some people in, and Saskatchewan and BC. The border is federal. But what happens within the provinces is provincial jurisdictions. There is an asymmetric level. For example, BC and Saskatchewan, Alberta have totally different caseloads and curve flattenings than Quebec and Ontario. So yeah, they're going to have different timelines, but you're right. Everyone's going to start modeling on the staggered approach and kind of looking who's working and who's not. Saskatchewan first out of the gate.
Evan Solomon, thanks for that. We will talk with you another time.
All right, thanks.